Hey, good morning, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order at 9:33. We have everyone here except for Councillor Cush today. We'll begin with the agenda. Is there anything additional on the agenda for administration?
No, Your Worship.
Anything from council? Okay, I'll take a motion to Councillor Koken.
I'll move the agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Koken. Any discussion? All in favor? That is carried. So that'll bring us down to adoption of minutes. Regular council minutes for December 22nd. Sorry, December 2022. December 7th, 2022. Any errors or omissions on that one? Okay. See none. Take a motion to approve. Councillor Wilhelm.
I'll motion that we adopt the regular council meeting December 7th, 2022 minutes as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? That is carried. Another set of minutes from the budget meeting, December 8th, 2022. Any errors or omissions there? Councilor Williams.
I'll make a motion that the council accepts the budget, or the meeting minutes for December 6th, 2022.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? That is carried. Okay, no public hearings, no bylaws.
We do the December 8 minutes.
Did I skip one? Oh, I did. They're all jammed in here. Sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Prestige.
I'll make a motion that council accept the December 8th, 2022 budget meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor? That was carried. All right, now we can move on. No public hearings, no bylaws, no delegations. We got business arising. So this is the 2023 operating and capital budget. As you know, we just had all those budget meetings that were aside to this. So, Mr. Frank.
Yeah, Your Worship, members of council, we revised the proposed budget as per council's request at the last budget meeting. And Ms. Chan is going to provide you with a further update of some further changes that we asking council's consideration.
Yeah, Your Worship, please indulge me. We are going to provide some hard copies for the latest updates. So we do have some last-minute requests. So for instance, that is some capital projects. I don't know whether you want me to go through capital budget first and then operating, or you want like detailed discussions on each items.
I think you could just take us through an overview on the capital
Yep.
and then the
Okay.
operating.
So-
And I'm sorry, can I ask you to speak up just a little
Okay.
tiny bit? Everybody here has a second life, so I used to be around diesels and airplanes. And
Oh, okay.
I cannot hear very well, so.
Okay, yep. So just let me know if I,
That's
speak.
great, thank
Yeah.
you.
So we're going to distribute the capital budget. So that is two new items that we added on.
Thank you.
So items 18 is not a new items, airport line breaking. It's just that that is two components to it. One is that it is a carry forward from last year's we considered as an operating, which is already included into the airport departments. But this is an additional, this is reconsidered the capital components to it. And then item 22, council have a previous discussions on the right-of-way acquisitions. And at that time, the council approved a budget for $30,000. So that is why we included into this 2023 capital budget.
Okay. Any questions, Councillor Dean?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So back to 18. So you say there's an operating portion that's already in the budget, and this should have accompanied the operating, or is this new? What?
I believe it is the two components. One is the operating components, and then one is the capital.
Okay.
So we captured the capital part right in the capital budgets, and then the operating under the contract services.
But probably should have been, I'm not trying to lay judgment, but this capital probably should have accompanied that operating request?
To the worship, I'm not quite sure if I understand the questions.
So, what I'm assuming is that there's, for airport land breaking, there's already operational money into the budget? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's from the carry forward to the worship, yes.
Okay, so I don't really understand what this capital part is as it relates to airport land breaking.
can you
Okay.
make a little sense of that for us?
Yeah, your worship members, previously on your, and Victoria will correct me, it was a carried forward item that was included in your initial budget discussions, right? What we're indicating to you is that there's money in the 80,316 plus the same amount in the operational to conclude, to make sure that we have enough money in the budget to break the land next year. If you remember, the estimates were at 250,000, so we believe that we can do it for approximately 160,000. So the carry forward is carried forward in the 23 budget, right, which is new money. And this one is being allocated from the reserve amount in regards to this, right?
Okay. So, I'm gonna just ask a question on this too, on this land breaking, because is there anything on the land breaking that's stopping us from moving ahead with the airport operationally, or the way it is right now, or what? Why is this land breaking always so important?
Important, as in, so we want the vegetation management control plan, right? Is that the technical?
Essentially, we want to break it, seed it, so the trees don't come back up. And then we'll lease what we seed out for hay.
Councillor Kulkin?
Yeah, through the chair too, I mean, how many acres is that?
90 hectares?
So 100 and close to 200 acres.
Councillor Dean, then Councillor Kulkin.
So again, I still don't understand how this falls into capital. And I'm not particularly alarmed by the request to do the project, but to me, this is an operational thing. You own the land, so you're not acquiring capital. You're converting it, I guess, but the costs are all in breaking the land. And so I don't see how that's capital, but maybe that's just splitting hairs.
I believe,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. To the chair, to the council. So when that is a land improvement, it would be considered capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And we consider that a seeding will be an improvement to the land.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. So then the next item.
Sorry, Councillor
Sorry.
Kulkin has a question as well.
My apologies. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a second question. Has there been consideration, for example, to use something like graze on that to hold the vegetation back for the time being? And what the cost over a period of 5 years that would be?
Through the chair to Councilor Colkin, we did spray it this fall, and our cost was ballpark $15K, including the chemical.
So that would be something that you would do probably biannually if you had to do it.
If we had to, yes.
You good, Councilor Copeland?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Victoria.
Okay. So if there is no further questions, I'm going to move to the operating budgets.
Yes.
So as per the council's discussions or arising from the council discussions, we have included the $10,000 grant to the Whitecourt Curling Club, as well as the $10,000 additional to the Economic Development Board members to attend the conferences. A couple of things that I also want to add is that that is a revenue items that we neglect to add is that $10,000 interest revenues from the rural water agreement. And then we have one last minute request from the community group. They have a carry forward of $7,600 for a capital grant. So if the councils approve the attached documents, we can actually include the carry forward as well.
So they just want to carry forward the
Yes.
76?
7,600.
7,600?
So it's under Department 71.
All right. Thank you.
This is for all, and this is.
Yep.
So what are we being asked? How much?
Somebody will, anyway.
And Your Worship, with the additional changes, we still, in the board part two, for the financial recovery plan, that we still have generated surplus and we still have projected surplus carry forward.
Okay. Any questions? Can you take us through the new paperwork that you've given us here? So-
Okay. And Len, do we have the department breakdown as well? 16, yep, it's already prepared? No, but do we have the department summaries as well?
No, department summary
Yes,
should be there.
because we should provide the one for Department 71. There should be a page for Department 71 or something like.
You want 71? I haven't distributed the number. I just do the
Yeah,
overall.
I think probably.
You want me to?
Something like that, yes. Give it to them
You
as well.
want me to give the water to?
And this is still on a
Everything, yeah, give it to me.
budget
Yep.
on a 3% increase, correct?
That is correct, Your Worship.
All right.
Yes, it is one of
So, yeah, I
the
don't think
recreations, yeah, right now it's coming.
That's where the.
Where's that?
Well, we don't have it yet, John.
Yep.
It's,
Yes, yes.
71 is a sub-account of 70, and 70 is
Yep.
Parks and Rec.
Do you have a?
No, this is the one. Oh, yep, this is her.
So on the third page of this document,
Which document is that?
The 7-page one.
Which
the
one?
3-page one.
3-page one. 3-page.
Budget summary.
71.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
You guys,
There's
you
an
better
account.
bring me- There's two of the this water. Two will
Oh,
go.
okay, yeah, I got that one.
So on the third page,
Yep.
account 70 is Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
and then 71 is where that curling club money is actually going to come from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this other page that she's handing out,
Oh, yeah.
the single page.
We also have Councillor Kush is joining us via Teams here, so we'll just do a quick test of Teams. Is he on?
Yep.
Can you hear us, Councillor Kush?
I can hear everybody.
Okay, I can hear you as well, so we'll mark that you entered the meeting via Teams at 9:49.
Oh,
They
yeah.
will have to add it to the budget.
Yeah.
This is to add to the budget.
Your worship, Lan is handing you a binder. It was missed in your binder. It was part of the overall budget, but it was just simply a misprint that we never caught in the hundreds of documents, but it was included in your original
Okay,
number.
I love the fact
have that right
that
there.
chop trees down, it gets converted to paper.
Thank you.
So your worship, that's a lot of information presented to you, so, so I'm going to walk through, probably it makes more sense by sub-departments.
Okay, let's do that.
Yep.
So tell us which one we're starting on here in the
So we're starting off with 70-71, Recreation Board, OPS budget summary. So basically, the major changes will be under the 2-700 grants and transfer. So we're going to include the additional 7,600 transfer. And then we also include that additional $10,000 for the Whitecourt Curling Club grant.
Yeah. Any questions on this? I see some furrowed eyebrows.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Dean.
Thank you. So a question back to our CFO. The 7,600 that the Blue Community Group is asking to carry over, is that shown in budget 2023, the 7,620?
Yes.
900?
Yep.
Where is the 10,000 that's being transferred to the Whitecourt Curling Club? Where is that shown on this ledger, or is it?
It's under 2-700, the grant and transfer.
Oh, so
Part
it's
of that
just part of that.
342,000.
Okay, so it would have been 332
Yeah.
prior, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. One page out of the way.
And then the next one is very straightforward, 40-41 water OPS budget. So the only changes is that under 1-500 other revenues own source, is that we include that $10,000 for the rural waters agreements that we have with our ratepayers, and that is the interest revenues.
Okay.
Yep, and then because with the changes to the operating budget, with all the transfer and additional reallocations, the attachment for the budget summaries and then the budget budget and actuals, it's just a reflection of that. It is just a summary of all the changes as an accumulation.
Councillor Wilhelm.
Unless anybody else had any other questions, I'm gonna recommend that, or all the words I'm trying to say.
Make the motion.
I'm gonna move that council adopts the 2023 operating budget and capital budgets as presented.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilhelm. Any discussion on that? We've all been through multiple days of this too, so. Okay, I don't see anyone's hands up, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All those in favor?
Favor?
Thank you, Counselor Cush. I heard in favor. Any opposed? And that is carried. All right, very good. Thank you. I know this is a big one, and I did get a question from one of the media personnel. They were kind of curious as to why we wanted to make sure we had a budget that was approved on time and not run on an interim budget. So we've tried to do this in the last little while, and it's, maybe you can let Mr. Frank explain the process a little bit better, but a lot of it has to do with, if you're running on an interim budget that's made up of your last year or 2 years ago budget, kind of a conglomeration of it, the admin doesn't really have the marching orders to go ahead with some of the projects that are in the new budget. So is that fair to say?
Yeah, your worship, members of council, exactly is, administration believes that you have to prepare your budget so that you know exactly what you're dealing with in 2023. We know based on our assessment numbers, or we always use previous year's numbers, right, i.e. 2022's numbers, and then when we get our final numbers in the end of February, the end of March is closer when we actually get the numbers. That we then make any adjustments to any of the revenue, and then if there are further needs by May or June, we can have that discussion with council to adjust the budget. But it gives the administration the opportunity to proceed with their operational requirements, i.e. tendering out any capital items that might be as of January 1st. So we don't have to wait till the budget is approved in June to do that.
Okay. Just so that council understands as well. Councilor D.
Yeah, and thanks. I'd just like to add in the past, I think Woodlands traditionally had operated at budget time with the expectation to have a budget finalized before the end of the year, and we were always able to accomplish that. There are numerous municipalities that need more time and make that extension. So just for new councillors to be aware that that is an option, you know, in future years if we got hung up on something or needed extra information and everybody's schedules wouldn't line up in the last bit of December, it can be, an interim budget can be approved. So just so that people know.
Okay. Continuing on with the agenda, thanks for everybody's work on that budget, though. That's a huge component of our year. We'll move on to 8.1, new business. So cancellation of the January 4th meeting. Mr. Frank.
Your worship, we're coming back from off of the Christmas break and wouldn't have the opportunity to prepare agenda for council that quick.
Okay. So you're looking for the first meeting starting again on the
January 16th.
16th, 5 p.m. for the Assembly 2023, correct?
That's correct, which is already in motion.
Councillor Koken.
Yeah, I'll move that we cancel the council meeting for January 4th, 2023.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Favor?
Thank you, Councillor Cush. I got in favor. That is all good then, that's carried. Member 8.2, member survey RMA strategic division, strategic direction, sorry. Mr. Frank.
Your worship, members of council, we received a request from RMA to ask that either individually as councillors fill out the RMA survey so that they understand the future direction of their association, or you do have the option of filling it out as a council as a whole and submitting it, and we present that both options to council, and it is council's wishes.
Okay. Anyone wish to go as a council on this one, or you? It makes it kind of tough right now for the time-wise. We'd have to sit down and do this, Councilor Wilhelm.
I think we could do it individually. I looked at the survey. It doesn't take much time to do it.
No, it doesn't. And I think we've actually gelled pretty well as far as knowing the issues that our municipality's facing, certainly, so. Councilor Prestige.
I'll make a motion that council complete an individually survey to provide input on the 2022 RMA Fall Convention for the 2023 Spring Convention.
Okay, very good. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Favor.
Thank you, Councilor Kush, and that item is carried. We'll move on to item 8.3, Town of Whitecourt Health Professionals Retention and Attraction Committee. Mr. Frank.
Your worship, members of council, we received a letter from the town of Whitecourt regarding they are establishing a health professional retention and attraction committee, and they're looking for Woodlands County council to be on that committee, as well as a number of other agencies that are dealing with the health care business.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna jump in on this one and say I'd love to be on this board if council will support that. And Councilor Dean?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate that the mayor sits. I'd move that council confirms its interest to sit on the Town of Whitecourt Health Professionals Retention and Attraction Committee and appoints Reed Burrows as a representative for Woodlands County.
Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Thank you, Councilor Kush. I heard in favor. That will bring us down to item 8.4, the Family and Community Support Services Grant Funding, FCSS. Mr. Frank.
Your worship, members of council, in order to access the full FCSS grant, we were required to put in an additional 20% eligibility in regards to that. We have approximately $60,000 left over, in which in the past we provided part of our FCS grant funding from the province, and we've allocated it towards the Woodlands, the town of Whitecourt, sorry. And because of the ICF agreement, it indicates that we're not required to do that, so we bring it forth to council for consideration, and we are recommending the amount that we have left over based on our programming. There's approximately 60,000, whatever it says on there.
62,000.
Yeah, 62,000, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions on this? No? Councilor Dean?
No question. I was just gonna make another motion that council approved cost share to the Town of Whitecourt in the amount of $62,000 from the 2022 FCSS grant paid to Woodlands County from the province.
Good. Motion's accepted. Motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? I should slow down so that I can see if Councilor Kush has anything to add. I don't see a hand up, so I will call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Councilor Kush. And that item is carried. That will bring us down to item 8.5, subdivision time extension request. Joe is not here.
Be me, your worship. Well, your worship, it'd be
Oh, look at that.
Mr.
Right on
McKay.
Wow, that is impressive timing, Mr. McKay.
See me run it.
Yeah, he slowed down right before he strolled around the corner of the door.
Caught my breath. It's me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
We're on, just so that we're all on the same page, we're on the item 8.5, which is the subdivision time extension request for 2021 SUB 11 Southeast 5th 64-4 west of the 5th Meridian.
Yes, so good morning. I have attached a subdivision time extension request for subdivision applicant 2021 sub 11, requesting a 1-year time extension to complete the conditions of subdivision approval. The $250 time extension fee was paid. This is the first request to council for the time extension, and this subdivision application was approved at our MPC meeting on January 19th, 2022 with the conditions. I have attached that. They are requesting this to basically finalize conditions for their approaches, and administration recommends to council to approve a 1-year time extension for subdivision approval 2021 sub 11 on Southeast 564-4 west of the 5th to January 19th, 2024.
Councilor Dean?
Thank you. To admin, I have no problem with the recommended action. I just, for myself, I don't know where this is exactly. When these come before council, could we have like a county map that just with a red dot to give us an idea? I think I know where this is, but I don't know for sure.
Through the chair to Councilor Dean. I could have that for the next subdivision approval.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like, again,
No, that's actually a good, that's a good comment. Councilor Prestige.
I'll make a motion that council approve the time extension request for subdivision approval 2021 sub 11 Southeast 564-4 west of the 5th to January 19th, 2024.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Prestige. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I see none. All in favor?
In favor.
That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can slow down on your way back up. Okay, that brings us to item 8.6. This is water, sewage, and solid waste recycle fees. Andre.
Your worship, members of council, in 2019, administration presented water sewage rates for the following 3 years, which ended in 2022. We've reviewed the existing rates. We surveyed our neighboring municipalities on their water sewage rates and their solid waste rates. And what we did is we got 6 municipalities that replied on the water and sewage rates. The average based on the 15 cubic meters use currently is $97.50, whereas our charges are $85. Currently, the solid waste collection is $10 a month. That rate has not been reviewed for quite a few years. We reviewed that. We had 5 municipalities that replied. Their solid waste collection rates on average are $21.12, where we are charging $10 per month. Woodlands County is the only municipality we were able to identify within our neighborhood that does commercial bin collection. We're currently reviewing the feasibility of us doing that work and having contracted out, including the rates. We will be bringing an RFD to council within the next couple of months on continuing that service or the rates or contracting that out. The water and sewer rates are not sufficient to fund the program itself. It runs a deficit every year, same as solid waste. With the increase in rates, the programs will still run a deficit, including up to the 2025 proposed rates. On the back page, there's a spreadsheet that identifies what the proposals are, what the impacts are. So for 2023, administration is proposing that March 1st, the water sewage rates increase from $1.50 per cubic meter to $1.80 per cubic meter. In January 1, 2024, it increased to $2.10 per cubic meter, and 2025 increased to $2.35 a meter. That would be on water and sewage. The bulk water rates would increase from $7 per cubic meter to $7.25 per cubic meter in March of 2023. Another 25-cent increase January 1, 2024, and a 75-cent increase January 1, 2025. The ag fill rates would increase by 25 cents each year. For the Hamlet solid waste collection, the proposal is to increase by $5 per month. March 1st, an additional $5 per month in 2024, and $2.50 in January 2025. We're also proposing that in January 2025, an additional $5 per month levy be added to the solid waste collection, which would go into a reserve to fund anticipated landfill improvements, which is something our neighbor is doing. I believe the town of Whitecourt is charging $12.77 per month for that same item. And there are some big dollar items coming up at the landfill. Also proposing for January 1, 2024, and this would be a new levy, $7.50 for all rural residents per month for funding of the transfer sites. And then in 2025, that $5 levy for landfill reserve would come into play for rural residents also. County of Lac St. Anne currently charges all their rural residents $10.96 per month for funding of their transfer sites. A lot of numbers, all increases, but we feel this will bring us in line with current and future expected rates of our neighbors.
Yeah, Councilor Dean?
How would the levies, through the chair to Andre, how would the levies be applied? Would that be on like a tax bill, or what? How is that going to show?
Through the chair to Councilor Dean, yes, that would be included with the tax invoice, and that would be tied into their transfer site card, access card, and the transfer site operators would have means of identifying if their levy was paid or not, and that would allow them to either use the transfer site or not.
And so just to follow up, this levy would apply to all county residents, all county residential properties?
That's correct.
So I don't know about the rest of you guys, but pretty sure most residents are just gonna interpret this as a tax increase. You know, their total bill is now going up by $750 times 12.
Councilor Wilhelm?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you've thrown a lot of numbers out here. I think to evaluate this better, it would be nice to see an example of how a couple average tax assessments that come in to the residents look like with these new fees attached? Is this a $500 increase on their tax assessment bill that's gonna happen in 2023? Is this a $125? Because if they see a $500 increase, they're not gonna be very happy. And yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my brain around all the numbers.
Andre?
Through the chair to Council Wilhelm, could you repeat that, just so I understand it correctly?
I was just saying it, using like an example of a tax bill or a tax assessment that we send out to the residents. We don't have to see anybody specific one, but if you said, okay, here's 3 examples of tax assessments that were sent out for properties of differing sizes, and this is how these assessments would change, right? I mean, for residents, it's probably seem like a large. For others, it could be 10-15% increase on their tax assessment. They're going to look at that as a 10 or 15% tax increase on them.
Andre?
Through the chair to Council Wilhelm, so this would be a flat rate increase, so that would be $90 per year.
Okay.
And then if the landfill reserve fee is added, it works out to $150 per resident per year.
Oh, okay, that's on the bottom right. Sorry, I missed that on the spreadsheet here.
So I'm gonna weigh in here. So 2 things. One is when it's nice to compare yourself against a neighbor and see what what it is that they're doing, kind of thing. But I think when we look at our goal for this type of thing, we're trying to figure out where is our break-even point on a fully funded service and how much does it cost to provide this, and that's kind of what I don't see in here, and I would have liked to have seen this come to the governance and priorities so we could have a good discussion on this, and then we could have forwarded this on. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. I'd like to push it to a governance and priorities meeting. We can have a look at this table and a little more information on it, because I understand where we want to go. There's just a few things that I'd like to consider before getting too much deeper into it, and I think G&P would be a good place to go with it. So, Councillor Kluken?
Yeah, just it's really interesting for me because as a rural resident who's not attached to the water and sewer system, it's a completely different perspective. And so what I see is that for us rural residents who are getting the transfer site service and landfill, there's huge value in that. When I look at the cost that would be attached to somebody who's paying for the cumulative water and sewer service in the county that's being supplied through that system, you're getting a really good service for a lot less dollars than those of us who aren't attached to that. So I really appreciate the fact for us to be able to look at this so I can understand it a little bit better.
Any further? What do we want to do, Councillor Wilhelm?
I agree. I think we should send this to governance priorities meeting. I think it needs more discussion and a little bit more information for me to wrap my head around it, because it does seem, I think it's quite an increase, especially when you're going across the board and increasing the fee for residents who aren't even going to be using 2 of these 4 services that they're paying for, which includes the water and the sewer. So I think it requires more discussion. But through the chair to Andre, on the water and sewer table, you've got fees associated for based on 10 cubes and 15 cubes. What's the average use for the residents on those volumes? Is 10 cubes average? Is 15 cubes average? What are we looking at? Or is Or do they use 30? And these are just
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, it varies. It's normally between 10, 15. We have some users that are in the 20. We have some commercial users that are higher than that.
So then we would be charging those commercial users more money, or we're just averaging it out across the municipality based on your plan?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, all the water sewer users are metered, so they pay for what they use.
Okay.
Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair to Andre, on your transfer site levy, like, in the Blue Ridge area, we don't have a transfer site. We just go to the dump. Landfill. So why would we be charged a transfer site levy?
Through the chair to Councillor Prestige, although there's no transfer site and the landfill is used, it's essentially the same thing. So people that use a transfer site, all that material ends up in the landfill anyways, so it's essentially the same. So everybody would be paying for waste disposal.
Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair to Andre, maybe we should call it something other than transfer site levy.
Is, I'm gonna jump in here again and say that this is something that needs to go to GNP. So do we have, to administration, do we have a next meeting for governance and priorities?
Yes, your worship, we have it January 30th.
12.
11.
11? Oh, okay, I was close. January 11th.
Have we got room on the agenda for it?
You can make room if council makes a motion.
Councillor Cloken.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move the approval for the updated water and sewage and solid waste recycling to our GNP meeting on the 11th of January.
Thank you. Motion's accepted. Any discussion on the motion? I see, Andre, you got your hand up. I got a motion on the floor.
I know.
So you speaking to the motion?
I tried to get it in before, but
Sorry, I didn't see you. I'll recognize you for a quick second.
I just have one question. There was discussion about further information. If I could ask what information you'd be looking for so we can have it for the
Well,
GNP.
that's relevant to the motion. Thank you. That's good. And I think if I can summarize what I'm hearing from council, what they're looking for is real world, bring, scrub the names off, bring us some landowners that are tied into water and sewer, some that use a transfer station, some that use just a dump like in Blue Ridge, and try and get us some real world examples, and then take us through those multi-year increases they look like. And we'd like to know what the average water consumption is, what high and low is. And I think we also have to have a conversation around commercial use of water and wastewater as well, because I know we've talked about, I had an interesting conversation with somebody one day, and they said, well, what if somebody opens a car wash? The water makes tremendous money for them, and you're charging them at a subsidized rate for water. That doesn't make any sense. So that's why there's a large conversation that's around here, and I think it fits in well with the direction that we're trying to move, which is kind of those fee-for-service models that we have, so that everything remains sustainable. So did I get everything that wants to be included on that? Councillor Dean?
The only other thing I'd like to see, and this sounds like a make-work project, but just as, under the current fee structure, there's an amortization amount that goes in to replace the lines, I'm assuming, and I'd like to see that as well. So I know what the plan was when those lines were installed, but I don't know how those fees were there as a reserve fund, or part of them were as a reserve fund. Part of it obviously went to pay for the water, but part of the fees that we charge residents were to replace the lines. And I'd just like to see a thumbnail sketch of the amortization on that as well.
Through the chair, Councillor Dean, if you look on the water sewage spreadsheet, you'll see there's a flat rate for water and for sewer of $20. That is what goes into reserve,
Okay,
$40 per month.
okay, all right, well, that answered that then, thanks.
And I'll recognize Counselor Wilhelm as well, because I want to make sure we get everything discussed.
Yeah, with regards to examples or more information that can be brought forward, I think an interesting way, or maybe a way that we could look at it is maybe potentially, and again, this is gonna create a tiny bit of work, but why don't you bring us our copies of our previous assessments and our potential next year assessments that would happen with these fee changes on it? You can scrub our names and locations off of it, but we're seeing, we all have different size residents in Woodlands, we all live in different areas of Woodlands. It might be interesting to see the impact on our own upcoming tax assessment and then help make a decision based off of that, because that's what the residents are gonna see, their own tax assessments. Let's see what our owns look like with these new levy fees on them, or these new fee structure on it.
Your worship, through to Councillor Wilhelm, we can, but the amount will be the same, right? So if your tax bill is $2,400, you can add $90 to that bill.
Okay,
And
that's all
if-
it is, okay.
And if Councillor Dean's is 2,200, you add $90 to that. So the assessment model, I understand what you're getting at, and the impact for somebody that has a smaller assessment base is getting a greater percentage, but the flat rate is always there versus somebody that has an $800,000 house, right? Yeah. It's still paying $90. But it is, one of the things I think we will provide with council is the number of residents, right? Because we know that in regards to that, and we can break down the number of commercial too, because even though council hasn't talked about this is just for residential, right? Because commercial people pay commercial rates, right? No?
Everybody pays the same rate.
Okay.
See, and that's a conversation we need to have.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd like to see this come to the GNP, which we have a motion on the floor. I haven't forgotten about it. And I think the one other thing that I think people are gonna wanna know at this meeting is, where is our cost recovery on that service? So we need some numbers on what does it cost, what are we charging, what's our goal, and where do we anticipate being in the next little while, 2024, 2025, because I see these extending all the way out that far. So, Councillor Wilhelm?
Just to add on to that, you said that these services run at a deficit every year. That I guess the additional information in that government's priorities are the rural residents, if we're changing these rates, are they gonna bear the brunt of that deficit, or should we be adjusting commercial rates for that? Like, where is the majority of the deficit coming from in the budget? If the rural residents are 2% of the deficit and commercial are 98%, then the rate should be adjusted accordingly, I believe. We should be increasing rural residents' fees to make up the difference that's happening in a commercial issue, right? So.
Yep. Councillor Colkin?
Yeah, just to add to that, through the chair to administration, I know that the town of Swan Hills went through that same process, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, where they wrestled with that commercial and residential one, because they use a lot of water up there for the oil sector, the tanks, trucks, and steamers. So there could be some information that we could get there.
Okay. So we still have a motion on the floor, and just as a matter of procedure, if we ever get too far off on discussion and everything too, another motion that's available to council is a motion to call the question. So, I'm going to call the question unless anyone else puts their hand up in the next little while, and I don't see anything online, so that's that. All in favor? Any opposed?
In favor?
Thank you, Councillor Cush, I heard in favor. Okay, so that'll be going to our governance and priorities meeting on January 11th. I think administration has all the information. Yes? Okay, excellent. I need these. A little bit of good news coming up here. Our Whitecourt Library Board funding. Mr. Frank.
Your worship, members of council, now that both parties have signed the Whitecourt library agreement, we're required to make some back payments. We do have some money set aside, but we also require council to authorize some additional approximately $65,000 from accumulated surplus. So if council is willing to do that.
Didn't we have this all budgeted out though?
We did in 2020 when this first started, but through the budgets, there was some money set aside, but not the total amount.
Okay.
1 year was missed,
One year
is
was-
what it
okay.
was.
Anyone wish to make a motion? Councillor Dean?
I didn't want to steal Councillor Cush's thunder, but yeah, just I'll move that council directs administration to forward payment to the Whitecourt Library Board for 2021 and 2022 totaling $131,300, with the unbudgeted portion coming from the accumulated surplus account.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dean. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
In favor.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Cush. I heard in favor. Okay, that item is carried, and that moves us on to item 9.1, correspondence and information. Anything anyone saw? Want to raise? Councillor Williams?
And the council accepts correspondence and information items as circulated.
Okay, very good. Any discussion? All in favor? I'm just looking for Councillor
In favor.
Push, there he is. Councillor Push, all right, that is carried. And that brings us to council reports and questions. So who do we start with? Councillor Dean.
Thank you. So, other than the budget process, the last 2 weeks was pretty brief, but I did, along with everybody else, attend a budget meeting on December 8th, and then on December 15th, I joined most of council at the joint council Christmas dinner, which was a nice event. And then yesterday we had our ACDEV meeting, and I'll let Councillor Prestige shed more light on that, but we had a very productive meeting. I'm looking forward to a good year with that committee.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dean. Any questions to Councillor Dean? All right, moving on. Councillor Will.
Like Councillor Dean, I had a pretty quiet last couple weeks since the last council meeting. Only thing to bring up was just the joint municipality Christmas dinner. It was nice to get together with everyone here that came, as well as the Whitecourt Town Council, and sit and have some cordial discussions and potentially move forward with a better relationship moving forward with them. So that was nice that they had put the invitation forward for us, and that the majority of council was able to be there for that day. I think that was really positive for both of our groups. So thanks to everybody that came. And other than that, I just wanted to remind everybody, December 26th to January 8th, I will be out of the country, accessible by email, but probably not over the phone. So other than that, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilhelm. Any questions to Councillor Wilhelm? Okay, Councillor Kuchen.
Yeah, I've had a very interesting 2 weeks. Started out with the budget discussion, which we all attended. The next meeting I had was with Barhead District Social Housing, was our final meeting of the year. It was very, very good. It's a well-run organization. I think our participation there is well taken care of. On the 13th, I attended the Fort Assiniboine School turkey dinner, which the county supplied the turkeys for. Was a really, really good get-together with the kids and the teachers there. They're very thankful for the support that they get in that event. It's been kind of a tradition for a number of years. On the 14th in the evening, I attended a bicentennial meeting to kind of finalize some of the things now that they have the backing of the funding that the council has given. They're moving forward with a lot of the things, and it's very positive. A lot of effort being put in by our economic development department, who kind of keeps those things together and keeps us on track. On the 15th, attended the Christmas dinner. It was really good. It was a very amicable and enjoyable event. I wasn't able to get online very much for the town hall meeting. I got kicked out of there because it was virtual, but I got the highlights of that. It was kind of the yearly or I think they get together every 3 months for those meetings. On the 19th, we had our RETA meeting in Mayerthorpe. It was a really positive meeting for a couple of reasons. Our TRF funding, which is the Tourism and Recreational Fund, did come through. We have the project in place, but it's going to be a challenge for us to be able to get all of those projects done before the deadline, which I believe is the 31st of March. At that point in time, we're going to, Lac St. Anne has chosen not to participate in the RETA, so we will lose them as our RETA partner. We're just in the process, and we've expedited that now that we have funding from the provincial government to the tune of $125,000 for the next year. We've expedited the restructuring of the Grizzly Trail Alliance, which is growth, to broaden our footprint, if you want to put it that way, a little bit more. And I have to say that Woodlands County really leads this thing because, first of all, we have the professional part, which is our EDO, who carries a big chunk of the load of the administrative load. And also the fact that we're the ones that are reaching out to the different municipalities through other means to be able to try to put something together that is in alignment with our strategic goals as a county, in alignment with our economic development committee's strategic goals, and also in alignment with the new provincial government's funding model. So it's a bit of a complex thing, so it's taken a lot of discussion and it's ongoing, and because we have that push from our economic development department here, it's a lot easier for us. So that's a real positive thing. Yesterday we had our economic development committee meeting. It was great. It was so enlightening to see that we're going somewhere, and I'll let Bruce expand on that a little bit. He's the chair. And that takes us to today, and it was a busy 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Colgan. That's a lot going on. Any questions to Councillor Colgan?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Peter, you said you were at the town hall, which you had trouble getting online. Which one was it you didn't see?
The ASB, Ag Service Board.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Williams.
I also attended the budget meeting with everyone else. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the joint supper with the town, but I had some personal arrangements already. We had a Ag Society meeting. It was the annual general for Assiniboine. That was really good. They're starting to plan, it'll be 50 years that they've been a society, so planning something, I guess, bigger than regular for the hoedown this year. Also, the Ag Society did reach out to the post office about maybe taking over their light display, so they're in talks of that right now, so hoping that works out. It'd be nice to do a drive-through, something through Walsh Park or something there. The Ag Society was really open to it, so actually one of the members was watching our meeting and brought it up, so that was good. They also have a new scoreboard coming there. It was a donation, so that's pretty exciting for anyone that's watched any hockey in that arena. There's never a scoreboard there. They have to borrow the little one from the school, so that should be here probably pretty quick. And yeah, all donated. Actually, Councillor Cluten's son, I believe, is going to hang it for free too, so that's pretty nice. And then I was just going to touch on the electric sign in front of the school. Got like a lot of calls and emails about that. Just so people who are watching this and everyone here knows, Woodlands County does take care of the repairs on that. When that sign was put in, it was outdated at that time. Now it's very outdated. So I was talking with Mr. Frank, and we were looking at whether it's worth putting a whole bunch of repairs into it, or maybe look for a grant for a new one, what the different options are there, rather than continuously get that thing fixed like we have been. So hopefully people are patient with that, but Woodlands County does take care of it. I'm getting approached a lot saying that the county should take care of it, but it is in the agreement, so just so people know. And that's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. Any questions to Councillor Williams? Councillor Dean?
I don't have a question, but you made me realize that I forgot that I had attended the Whitecourt District Ag Society meeting on a week ago Monday, and that organization, like most of our volunteer organizations, is a going concern, and I'd just like to reach out and compliment the volunteers, congratulate the volunteers, because they do a good job.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Prestige?
Okay, well, I'll start with the budget meetings. And I really want to give our administration a thank you for the way you presented the budgets. It was very easy to understand it, and it just made the whole process simpler and better. So thank you very much. We had our West End bus meeting. Good news there is everything is going according to plan. We have over $100,000 in reserves, so when we have to buy a new bus, we don't have to come back to the municipalities to kind of have our hand out to get more money. So it's a good system that we came up with, and it's working. And the good thing is the ridership is up. It's doing very well. What else did I have there? Had my first Community Futures meeting. It was very good. Kind of enlightening what we have to do. The one thing that wasn't that great is in February we have 6 training sessions of 3 hours each, from 6 in the evening till 9 in the evening. So I think my February is going to be fairly busy. 6 meetings. We had a Eagle Tower Victim Services meeting. There's kind of some good news there. Minister Ellis is saying that the victims of trauma is not going to be, or it's going to be represented through victim services. We don't know the full context of it yet, but it's a good sign.
Okay.
And our ECDev meeting yesterday, I'll say it was probably the best meeting we've had in ECDEV in 6 years. We're getting a good sense of direction where we're gonna go. We're doing our strat plan session. We started out with just kind of a general one yesterday. In January, we're gonna go into a little bit more and have some input from all the board members on it. And then in February, we're gonna have a strat plan meeting. It's not gonna be a dev meeting, it's strictly a strat plan meeting. So we can get our direction on our strat plan and our work plan. So it's very nice to see this happening, and our new members are really contributing, and I think it's gonna be a really good board now. And I also did go to the supper with the town. It was very good, very cordial. So it's a sign in the right direction. With that, that's it.
Okay, any questions, Councilor Prestige? All right. I attended the same thing as everyone else, just budget, and I'll echo Councilor Prestige's comments there. Certainly, the administration did a great job putting the budget together, and made it in a way that council could sift through it with relative ease. Not a lot of municipalities got part of this, but there was a workshop that the RMA had thrown on called Election Priorities. And as everyone knows, the RMA is a nonpartisan, so they work with the opposition, they work with the current governments, they work with everybody. But we were really trying to get an idea of you know, what challenges are for certain municipalities. Unfortunately, there were only about 60 people in that call from the rural municipalities. But there was an interesting comment that came up during it, which was, you know, the people have to realize that Edmonton is not northern Alberta. And that brought me to the center of Alberta, which actually we have in Woodlands County. So, and then tied in with the bicentennial that's going on in Fort Assiniboine, and tied in again with the Uniquely Rural campaign. So I shared a little bit of info there with RMA on it. And it was interesting because I don't know how many people know that there is actually a what do you call it, a monument to the center of Alberta. It's about a 3-kilometer walk in. And so one of the respondents to my email turned out to be the current CEO of RMA, Gerald Rhodes, who was actually working in Woodlands County when that was commissioned, and they walked in with the current Premier, Don Getty, and kind of did a ceremony there for the new piece. So, you know, as part of, and I'd sent this email out to everybody, but as part of our kind of branding idea, I guess, you know, we've always struggled for, you know, oh, Woodlands County, where is that? And now we can, there might be an opportunity along with the bicentennial that's going on in Fort Assiniboine, and that's a National Heritage Site as well up there. So, along with the Center of Alberta theme, there might be an opportunity to do a little bit of rebranding if council's interested in it, but I look forward to having that conversation at another time. And other than that, I'd like to take the opportunity to wish everybody Merry Christmas. And I hope you guys all get to shut down and have time with friends and family, and remember why we do all this work in the first place, and thank everybody for a great year. So with that concludes my report, and if there's any questions. Oh, Councillor Cush, I completely forgot about Councillor Cush. Councillor Cush, are you there?
It's okay, it's understandable. I'm not in the room there, so.
I'm sorry.
It's been So it's been a quiet couple of weeks. We had the budget meetings. Aside from that, I unfortunately couldn't make the joint dinner with the town, just other work responsibilities. And couple board meetings with the Insamo Ag. Last week was their annual AGM. Most of the same board members. We brought in a new one new member. Unfortunately, I'm terrible with names. And last night again, we had another Insamo Ag meeting, just kind of going over new projects and everything that they're trying to get through here once the grants and the funding, or the grant funding from the county makes it. That's all I got to report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cush. Any questions to Councillor Cush? With that, I'll ask a motion to accept council reports for Councillor Williams.
I'll make a motion that council accepts the council reports and questions as information.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Cush. And that item is carried. That brings us to the CAO report. Mr. Frank.
Your worship, members of council, like council at the budget meetings and then doing orientation with Victoria for the most part, as well as the opportunity as you, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read your email this morning. The staff announcement did come out before council, and so tomorrow morning they will receive their paper copy with their actual amount in the on Friday. So I know that some individuals have already inquired in regards to that announcement from the Reeve, and I said you'll have to see it tomorrow. So you may be getting some thanks tomorrow on that. So.
Okay.
I did have an opportunity to meet with the Fort of Assiniboine staff, and one of the things that I did learn in this lesson is they don't like secrets. So,
Surprises.
Yeah, surprises, that's correct. Yeah, and then that's all I have, your worship, members of council.
I'm gonna have to remember the difference between a secret and a surprise. That's correct. That's a whole interesting topic by itself. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any questions to our CAO, Councillor Culkin?
I'll make a motion that we accept the CAO's report as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Cush. That brings us to our service tracker report. And Mr. Frank.
Yeah, your worship, members, that this is the monthly report. In the new year, we're going to try to see if we can, or we are going to do counselor requests slightly different so that it's not an ongoing, it'll be a monthly one, so that you know. And then at the end of the year, we'll total them up.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the service tracker? Councillor Williams?
I'll make a motion that council accepts the monthly service tracker report as information.
Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Cush. That item is carried. That brings us to Committee of the Whole 11.1, so that is all in closed session. So I'll take a motion to move into closed session, and then we'll take a quick break and get after that. Councillor Preston.
I'll make a motion that we move into closed session.
Sorry, I just need the FOIP references too, please. It would be 17, 19, 24, and 27.
I better put my glasses on. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session with FOIP 17, 19, 24, 27.
Thank you.
And your worship, you should note in your comment that you won't be available for
That's
the
right.
section 24 and
There is
27.
there is one item that's coming up, and that is item 11.2, which I guess that's a pecuniary interest for me, as I have a business relationship there, so I will be stepping out for 11.2. Okay, does that meet my requirements, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, your two ways of doing it, we can note it in the, your worship, you can go into closed session, come out of closed session, do the 11.1, and then declare your pecuniary interest, council go back into closed session, or we can note it in the meetings that you left at that point in time in the closed session and removed yourself. Whatever council's comfortable with.
Second seems fine.
Yeah. Okay, second seems fine, we'll go with that for now. Motion to move into closed session is on the floor with Councillor Prestige. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you. Any opposed? Back from our two items that we had under 11, committee of the whole on the agenda. We have some motions arising under those, under 11.1. Councillor Dean.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I move the council appoints David Turcott to serve as member at large on the Community Services Committee from December 21st, 2022 to October 31st, 2024 for a 2-year term.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you, Councillor Cush. That's carried. And the second one.
I move that council appoints Heather Belrose to serve as member at large on the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board Committee from December 21st, 2022 to October 31st, 2024 for a 2-year term.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you, Councillor Cush. That is carried. Item 11.2, Councillor Dean.
I move that council accepts the legal brief report on airport matter as information.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that one? Wasn't here for it, so. All in favor?
In favor?
Okay, that is carried.
Councillor Cush's hand.
One more item, Councillor Cush.
Councillor
I'll
Cush?
make the motion to adjourn.
All right. There you go, Councillor Cush. Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, we stand adjourned, so